And welcome back to the Hot Lap, where we are talking the WRC Chile winners and losers on the last gravel event of the year. How did everyone fare, knowing that we've got the Central European Rally and Japan still to go? Terry Neuville, very much still the championship favourite, but including him, how did they all fare? So, winners and losers. Let's have a look. And the man, let's start, shall we, with the man that won the rally. You guessed it. It is Finland's own Kalle Rovanperä. How did he fare? So, let's be fair. Let's start off with the fact that it wasn't his most impressive performance of the year. But at least according to Toyota's boss, it may well have been the most important. There's no question that he probably should have maybe done a bit better. In particular, he had an advantageous road position over quite a few other people. And he admitted it, he struggled to find his own balance, especially throughout that Friday into parts of Saturday. But Saturday stages, let's talk about Saturday. They presented a different challenge, and this is where Kalle came good. He revelled in those conditions. Remember the fog? Yes, he didn't get the worst of the fog, but he was precise. He never gave up. He was fast. And even Dirtfish is saying, if Toyota take the manufacturer's crown this year, you're going to need this guy at his very best. And that is what we got. Classic Kalle in both Saturday and Sunday's renditions of Chile. So who is next? Well, let's talk about the man that finished second, shall we? This guy right here, Elfyn Evans. He was back. Elfyn was back in Chile. He had a really, really good pace all weekend, save for not quite matching Rovanperä's pace on Saturday. Big thing, though, was the fog. And the fog was, I think, worse for him than almost any other people. And it's frustrating that he was so quick, because he was really quick here. Had we seen the Evans that arrived in Chile, maybe he'd be a genuine title contender. He fought this weekend. He found his form. He got his team up there. And a little bit more of that may well do well for 2025 if, I think, he gets made official for Toyota. The sad thing is, with Evans, we can go to the next rally in Central Europe and he can have another clanger. As in, like, absolute no-no. But let's hope. He just needs his consistency. He needs his consistency. We know he can do it, but I don't think Evans actually knows that he can do it. And there's the issue there. So we go from Mr. Evans to the man that's probably not going to win the title, but we all hoped may provide a much better challenge to Neuville, but he didn't. So it's Sebastian Ogier. Not particularly, it wasn't his greatest outing this year. He made mistakes, and that ultimately cost him a chance of winning the rally. But you really got to look at his performance on Sunday. In testing conditions, he pushed his Yaris Rally 1 to the limit, and he secured the maximum manufacturer points on that day. Whether you like the points or not, we don't, and you probably know by now. He still did good. But we had mistakes. He's making mistakes. It's very un-Ogier-like, and they've been more than I think even most Ogier fans would like. It's hard to find excuses for them. However, is this down to the situation that the whole team finds itself in? There were extreme. We had the FIA, the no swearing debate, and you got to wonder, was he really truly happy with the car? But those mistakes could have cost him a chance of a record equaling 9th title. But without question, he risks a lot, doesn't he? And the Sunday, once again, we have to be reminded that Ogier was amazing on the Sunday and really helped save Toyota's weekend. Next up, we've got Sami Pajari. I don't sadly have a picture for him, but he did, let's be fair, he had a really mature performance out in Chile. Yes, as we know, on Rally 2, he has had experience of these roads. The conditions, though, were very testing with that fog. Remember how good Kalle was. So debuts are one thing. Consolidating and impressive debuts are quite another. And this was a very consolidated on his debut. And he proved that he can perform impressively, to the point where Toyota, if they want that third driver, if they want a permanent third driver, or even if Hyundai do, Pajari, I mean, you could do a lot worse than him, couldn't you? Absolutely, you could. So let's look at our next guy, and it's this man. It's this man here, Art Tanak. Now, in terms of the Drivers' Championship, it's all or nothing right now. But much like Noval, there's an enormous amount of responsibility on his shoulders, especially now that Toyota are closing up. Now, he struggled with the car, but to be fair, all the Hyundai drivers seem to struggle with the car in Chile. The Hyundai at times looked to be difficult. It seemed to almost have a very narrow knife edge of performance in Chile, and the roads, even though they weren't very, even though they were a very different characteristic between the Friday and Saturday and Sunday, it didn't really suit Tanak. But then is that because it didn't really suit the Toyota? Now, ultimately, his pace was maybe compromised by the need to score those manufacturer points and get it in the bag. But he leaves Chile with still a slim chance of that championship. And let's talk about the championship leader, who has been the championship leader since the first race in the first rally even in Monte Carlo. He came into Chile with a game plan to secure points, and I think at the time he probably would have taken 4th or 5th. He would have bitten your hand off for that if you offered it to him before the start. He got 4th. Exactly part of the plan. However, Dirk Fischer even saying, is there questioning whether there is a degree of conflict in Neuvel's approach? He is without doubt a Hyundai man through and through, and he is desperate not only to secure that first driver's title, but to help them secure the manufacturer's bid. I mean, his first title and the manufacturer's title for Hyundai would be brilliant. He knows that he has to be a little bit selfish to score that driver's title. He is the master of Super Sundays, whether you like it or not, so far this season. And it looks like, would you bet against him? Probably not. And is he going to play it safe for the next 2 rallies? Probably yes. So, there we go. There's Neuvel. But let's talk about Esa-Pekka Lappi. It may well have been his last ever rally. So think about that. We all know how quick he is. He won in Sweden. But it seemed very difficult for him in Chile, for him to jump in the car and master what the other drivers were. It was a difficult car to drive, and even he said, "I'm driving this car as quickly as I can drive it. I can't do anything more." He kind of did what he had to do. He was very much the safety net for Hyundai at the weekend, and he was right there on Sunday should any misfortune befall him, and then it did. And I really hope this is not the end of Esa-Pekka Lappi's Rally 1 career. He shouldn't have gone out like that. But if this is to be his last outing, he's going to be very much missed. A career that did promise so much potential. But maybe if this is the end for Lappi, there are certain question marks. And I'm sure there's a parallel universe where Lappi is a WRC champion. Sadly, it's very much not this universe. So, yeah. Poor Mr. Lappi. But let's talk about on-form Formo. He was, and he did put in quite a strong performance. He's beginning to look like he should be winning rallies anytime soon, given the car. And as we know, the M Sport car is not particularly great. He had an unfortunate technical issue on the Friday with the alternator belt doing a whoops-a-daisy. And it seemed difficult for him to achieve anything more after that. But when you even if you look at his times, it was very impressive. But then we kind of expect that from Formo. So let's go from Mr. Formo to Munster. And to be fair, I'm trying to find him on my list. Yeah. Okay. This was his best days yet in the Rally 1 car. He did have impressive pace, and he has experience of Chile. But is he showing enough pace to give him to warrant a second year in a rally car? No, he's not. But when you have people like Cesc and Pajari. So, a solid drive, but I think is what we say here. So, from this guy, let's talk about Mr. Cesc. So, it was his opportunity to impress M Sport in what was a very different way. There were not going to be any heroics, no heroics of Latvia here. His Puma did not have the hybrid boost, and that was going to have quite the impact. But M Sport values, as we know, they like their young drivers who can show a bit of pace, but also bring it home. And that's all Cesc really had to do. And he had to show some consistency in terms of his pace. Overshooting, for example, which he did a right-hander, taking 2 tyres off the rim was a bit of a whoops-a-daisy. A bit of a downer for Cesc. But after the high fighting of Latvia, this was pretty much a crash back down to earth. But in fairness, he came back on Saturday and he was setting reasonable times considering that car's performance for the handicap. The question is, did Cesc do enough for M Sport to think, yes, maybe we should back you next year? If they have enough money, it would still be absolutely make sense if they could afford it to place Cesc in for Munster. The other big question is if, and it's a big if, Adrian Former goes to Hyundai, because he says apparently he knows where he's going, or Toyota, Martin Cesc for M Sport. Surely you probably didn't hear it here first, but you still heard it here. There we go. Fingers crossed for Cesc. But that's pretty much our winners and losers for Chile. If you liked what you see, please, if you can, give us a subscribe. That would be absolutely lovely. Make sure you hit that whoops-a-daisy, wrong button. Make sure you hit that notification button where you won't miss a rally video. Stay safe, and we will no doubt speak to you soon.